to Jurassic Park.
I love Jurassic Park. It's one of my favourite movies of all time. Along with Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future and Jaws, it's the perfect blend of summer popcorn movie magic and incredible inspiring cinema. It's a perfect film, blending incredible visual effects with memorable characters, a brilliant John Williams score and one of the most unique plots for a movie ever. Even inspiring myself to spend one of my summers when I was young creating a film about my dog with Legos, which was an obvious homage to one of my favourite films. It's so meaningful to many current and aspiring filmmakers, as it is one of the last examples of truly making the audience feel taken into a new world by cinema. Every scene is brilliant, and the film builds perfectly to my favourite CGI shot of all time. This film doesn't have to rely on big explosions and bombastic action scenes, but rather intense claustrophobic moments and awe-inspiring feats of filmmaking wonder. So, what has happened to the franchise? Well, after the success of the first film, Spielberg, after avoiding making sequels to his other successes like Jaws, E.T. and Close Encounters, finally decided to continue a franchise that wasn't Indiana Jones. Just a little side note, check out my story for Indiana Jones 5 if you're looking for a good finale to this franchise. But the problem with Jurassic Park started right here with The Lost World. Instantly chucking out two of the best characters from the first film, we follow Jeff Goldblum's Ian Malcolm, who is a great character of course, however he works more in moderation, and also when he has someone to play off who is also grounded like Sattler and Grant were. However, the characters we got were Vince Vaughn with the camera, Kobayashi, and an overly curious Julianne Moore. The film is really disappointing. Many scenes veer away from wonder and just are kind of there to create as many T-Rex moments as possible. However, the third act is something I get a kick out of. Seeing a T-Rex romp around San Francisco was a lot of fun. However, the first 2/3 of the film were remarkably boring, where the CGI looked noticeably worse. Not to mention that stupid bit with the gymnast. Then the third one came and... This is from Joe Johnston, who did films like Rocketeer and the first Captain America, but this film definitely started the diminishing quality of Jurassic Park films as they went along. The film for some reason has this obsession with constantly keeping the story moving along at a frantic pace, hence the 90-minute runtime. However, the movie makes massive mistakes with its characters. Right off the bat, they introduce Sattler and Grant separated, while Sattler has her own children, kind of completely undoing the end of the first film. He gets stuck with Screaming Taya Leone and William H. Macy and search for a kid who somehow survives 8 weeks all by himself. Billy is his greedy dumbass assistant, not to mention two low points of the franchise.
Alan! Alan!
The T-Rex gets killed early, so we get the boring Spinosaurus. I like the scene where the phone is going off, but only because it makes me laugh hysterically. And the film also has a bizarre way of cramming in sentimentality for the dinosaurs, with the theme blaring with the creepy brachiosaurs and when the pterodactyls are on their way to make a meal out of the human race. But hey, that was a trilogy that started with one of the best movies ever and went straight down. However, now we get to the actual topic of the video. So in 2015, my third most anticipated film of the year was Jurassic World. From director Colin Trevorrow, who did Safety Not Guaranteed, which is a great little film, you should go watch it. Although the trailers were mocked for obvious reasons. New super dinosaurs, the theme park is actually open when it should never have opened, Chris Pratt riding around with the raptors. However, I was still looking forward to finally seeing John Hammond's vision come to life on the big screen, and I have always had a very odd relationship with this film. I hate the characters so much. Every one of them is bland, cliched, extremely simplistic and cookie cutter, not to mention forced as hell. You have the uptight executive who learns to be a badass, the already badass guy who is a play by my own rules dude, an idiotic overambitious CEO, an evil scientist and two dumbass kids who for some reason got so much screen time, and then not to mention for some reason we had to keep on cutting to Judy Greer's divorce hearings. The Indominus Rex was laughable and just had this set of skills to be able to do what the plot required. The final battle, however, is awesome. Watching it every time makes you feel like a little kid banging your toys together. It's like the filmmakers were going, and then she lures out the T-Rex, and then the raptor joins in, and then they team up, and then the water monster eats the super duper Pepsi Cola, Samsung, Dairy Queen, Indominatrix, Starbucks, Pumpkin Spice Latte, Burger King, Mountain Dew, Ultimo Raptor. It's just unfortunately, once all is said and done, you remember how bad the rest of the film is. It's like that adrenaline rush you get at the end of Rogue One. The first time you saw it, you were so blown away from that Darth Vader scene that you kind of forgot the rest of the film was just kind of bland. However, now to the most recent film, Fallen Kingdom. Fallen Kingdom is like a terrible 80s low-budget sci-fi B-movie given a $250 million budget. I feel that this film is split in two for me. The first half is the exact same as the second film, minus a weird scene with a tranked out Chris Pratt. However, with a pretty visually cool hamster ball scene. However, I cannot tell you how much I hate that scene of the brachiosaur dying in the lava. It is so needlessly horrific. And then the rest of it is just chasing dinos around. But the second half is downright bizarre. The whole mansion being overrun by dinos is insane, but admittedly pretty fun in a guilty pleasure way. The Indoraptor gets even dumber. Like, why would you point a laser at the enemy when you could just shoot them because you've already got them in your sights? And yeah, the fact that dinosaurs, these things that have been recreated after 65 million years, sell for the same price as a house in Monte Carlo. It is damn near insulting for anyone who uses common sense. But yada yada yada, the little girl's a clone, they let the dinos free, and now we've got a world where it is common nature to have a raptor in your backyard. And also, that short film, while it is fine, is something we've already seen before in the second one, and it wasn't that great. But now we're getting a third film from the writers of Jurassic World 2 and Pacific Rim 2. Yeah. So how do we fix this franchise? This was one of the most difficult ones I had to do. With Monsterverse, it was simply scaling down the amount of characters and building up the story, but with Jurassic Park, it's different, because each film is inherently different, and only one has been good. So you've got Sam Neill, Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum all returning, as well as 15 other characters, but reality is, you only need about 4 to 5, and the franchise is in a tough spot to get a real great story out of. This is a series where you have a great concept for your first film. It's like Westworld, where the great premise is how there is this theme park with an incredible gimmick. However, once you introduce them to the real world, it's kind of robbed of that realism, as government would simply just hunt these animals down. But, Mr. Trevorrow, challenge accepted. Let's try and fix this franchise and restore it to give it some sort of dignity. So here are the checkpoints. Characters. Less of them. The Jurassic World characters have been struck with the same problem as many of the characters in the Monsterverse. There are so many of them that they have become boiled down to singular personality traits. Cocky, uptight, sinister, Hammond, stupid, dumb, shut up, I hate you. So we need to get new characters. Pronto. So here, give Chris Pratt more personality than I am man, I talk to dinosaurs and I run a lot. However, you need some flesh. But here's the thing. It's too late. I cannot think of a single way to make me care about him. He is the most generic Schwarzenegger-esque action hero of the modern age. So basically, I'm gonna scrap him. I'm gonna scrap all of them. Here's what I would do. Introduce a new character, one who doesn't know a hell of a lot about dinos, and then you give him an early run-in which gets the plot going. Like that scene in GoldenEye where all of Natalia's friends get killed and her surviving sets off the main story. And this guy is gonna set up my main character. But simply looking at all of these characters, there's no way to go with them. There's nothing to continue with them. They're badly written characters who you can't connect to and don't have any real likability to them. Characters, make them smarter. The characters have always struggled with the brain element of being smart. And this could be fine in the start because character arcs exist. However, we need to have logical people by the end. People who don't allow dinosaurs to run amok in the world. Also, villains who don't think of better ideas than this. Don't militarize dinosaurs. It's the most stupid, pathetic idea, and somehow these geniuses thought that it was worth trying again. Dinosaurs being militarized makes no sense, and there are so many grey areas where it could go wrong, but unfortunately, due to this idea that the only way to make dinos essential to the plot is by simply saying they can help the military, and then creating some stupid device to do it, is terrible. Which then leads me on to my next point. Dinosaurs are animals. They are not monsters. The important message you need to have here, aside from the obvious,
and before you even knew what you had, you patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You want to sell it. Well, yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
All 5 Jurassic Park films have had this message, and it's old. Here's a new important message you need. Here, I'd go for the King Kong type message of the ramifications of captivity and trying to conquer nature. There has been an important debate about life here, Now that these animals are living in the human world, you have a strange conundrum, because if this really did happen, then, as I said before, the government would have taken them down in an instant. But you must display these creatures as animals trying to survive. They are not monsters. Showing dinosaurs winking at the camera or hiding behind tubes turns them into slasher villains. They need to be animals protecting themselves or hunting, not systematically picking off characters relevant to plot points. In Jurassic Park, it helped that they took out multiple protagonists. In Jurassic Park, the limited amount of personnel actually on the island allowed for all of them to be integral to the plot, with only one real antagonist. So when he died, it felt natural. However, now in these films, they just pick off whichever character is in Chris Pratt's way. Give the animals majesty. Before you say, yeah, but they had these... No. Having one scene in Fallen Kingdom of some brachiosaurs walking by doesn't count. We need to see the people being truly amazed by the fact that they are seeing dinosaurs. Now, this franchise has a cheap way of doing this. You go through, see Animal and play the John Williams theme, and that equals nostalgia, and complaints of monsterifying these creatures eliminated. But no, it wasn't just the first sight of these creatures in Jurassic Park. It was the sick Triceratops feeding the Brachiosaur, the birth of the raptor. There is more to creating these scenes than music and beauty shots. We need to see genuine awe at the sight of this incredible miracle of the rejuvenation of life, and also the wonder of the elements to get there. You need to show us more than just the finished product. Along the way, you also need to let us explore the other several incredible elements that there are to this process. Scenes in moderation. One of the big complaints for me about Jurassic World was the lack of tension in scenes, where they focus completely on the large spectacle of the scenes rather than scaling it down and making you actually fearful at times. However, they heard this complaint and said, oh, alright, then we'll literally make half of the next movie the kitchen scene with the finale. Basically, learn to balance. The real finale of Jurassic Park was the showdown with the raptors in the kitchen, rather than the actual T-Rex fight, which lasted 10 seconds. But when blended in moderation, they made a perfect ending. Even the second one got this right with the T-Rex rampage, followed by the showdown of the boat. It's finding that perfect balance of close quarters and intense, and the large spectacle T-Rex stuff. But enough of that. Now that we've gone through all of these fixes, let's get to the fun stuff. I'm actually going to create a story for Jurassic World 3, Jurassic Park 6, whatever you want to call it. But my title will be Jurassic World Extinction. Yeah, I know, but if you don't like it, you can all just f*** off. You play the hand you're dealt. And it's like I've been dealt with a 2 and a 5. We open on a hillside path at dusk. A group of 4 men walk by with flashlights and push through a fence, singing folk songs as they push through the forest at the top of the hill, wandering through until they find a small clearing where they set up camp. We focus in on one of the campers, William Davis, who has recently been given the rank of 2nd lieutenant. They talk about how he is shipping off in 2 weeks, one of his friends dropping a pan, startling them, however creating a loud crashing noise. They continue to sing and drink as the night goes on, however at one point, they hear a rustling in the bushes. One of his friends goes over to inspect. Hello? Is anyone there? A strange noise coming from the distance. They get their flashlights and walk into a clearing, eventually finding a small ankylosaurus baby. They go closer, however, Will is hesitant, insisting that they head back. His friends, however, in their intoxicated state, decide to follow it. He slowly approaches after them, finding one large sleeping adult, before they turn around, seeing another one. This one, however, wide awake and filled with rage, quickly lashing out, taking out one of his friends. The other dinosaurs waking up, screaming horrifyingly. William sprinting away, one of his friends trampled and another one killed by the creature's mighty tail, eventually climbing a tree to escape. As the dinosaur starts to swing its powerful tail, wearing away at the tree, he grabs his flashlight and tosses it far, distracting the dinosaur as he sprints away, escaping through the fence and falling down the side hill, tumbling down onto the path. On his hands and knees, William cries as the camera pans out, and the title comes up. We cut to 2 weeks later, at a funeral for one of his friends, this being the 3rd one Davis has had to attend to. Afterwards, he is met with the mother of his friend. "You could have stopped them," she says. She looks as if she is going to say something else, however she stops herself. He is at home when he is visited by a Lieutenant General, informing him that they had hunted down the dinosaurs responsible for this and killed them, presenting him with a photo, one which William can't bring himself to look at. The General informs him that the UN have collectively agreed, for the safety of the world, every single dinosaur will be hunted down and killed. Wondering if Will wants to join the US task force they are assembling, William hesitantly agrees. We see him go through small pieces of training, joined by a few other soldiers who seem dead set on taking out as many dinosaurs as possible, almost like the Colonel Marines from Aliens or Starship Troopers. One morning they hear a report of a herd of apatosauruses approaching Reading, and they go, eventually driving through. However, their car wheels are shot out. Will taking off on his own, eventually shooting and wounding one of the dinosaurs. When he finds it is walking slowly, he pulls out his gun and points it at the dinosaur. It is crying out in pain. William is shaking, sweat pouring from his forehead. He slowly pulls the trigger. However, he is shot by a tranquilizer gun, William falling to the ground unconscious. When he wakes up, he is in a bed. A small bedroom with a little decoration. However, a window looking out to see a vast forest landscape. Exiting the room, finding breakfast made for him. Eggs? There is a girl there. Will is unsure of what to think. He sits down and asks where he is. She tells him that he is in a private nature reserve in Montana. Who are you? I'm Dr. Maggie Grant, short for Magnolia. Why am I here? At that moment, two people burst in the door. I told him that we should have separated the Allosaurus and the Carnotauruses. It is not a good mix. Honey, nothing bad has happened yet. But you know better than anyone how they can go to hell just like that. They both turn and look at Will. It's Dr. Grant and Dr. Sattler. Is this the hero you found at Shasta? Second Lieutenant William Davis. And why are you hunting these creatures? William gets up. I was doing what I was assigned to. Hunting down those monsters. And do you have any idea the harm that 4 apatosauruses can do? William pauses. No? None, when unprovoked. Sattler pulls Grant away. Grant is obviously annoyed that William is in his house. Who was that, he asks Maggie. My parents. Yeah, that's right. I am ripping Jurassic Park 3 from canon. No Alan, no throat vocal thing, no Billy, no dumbass Spinosaurus, and no Grant and Sattler being split. Of all of the things in that movie, that was the most insulting bit, that they reversed their character arc from the first film. So, in my version, that movie never existed, now they have a daughter. William and Maggie go out and Will realizes that her family has created a dinosaur sanctuary, taking up miles of open land in Montana to create an undisturbed private sanctuary for the dinosaurs to live peacefully. Eventually driving to an enclosure where the apatosaur he shot is recovering, walking again. He realizes that the dinosaur is calm and gentle when using a calm means of approaching him. He and Maggie tour the rest of the sanctuary. He eventually rides along a herd of stampeding dinosaurs. William finally coming across a smile, as well as developing feelings for Maggie. He talks to Dr. Grant about the dinosaurs and how they've had teams rescuing the dinosaurs using their trackers from Jurassic World, creating a secret habitat for them, using what was left by Hammond for them to create a new paradise. However, Will feels conflicted. He still has nightmares and is being haunted by the death of his friends. He then sees on the news a report that he has been missing, Maggie finding him at the time, and he reveals what had happened to him. However, he says that he will stay and help her family with the sanctuary for a while longer. One day, when he is aiming to secure one of the Allosaurs, it goes horribly wrong as the dinosaur escapes, breaking out. We get a tense scene where Will saves a group of young Brachiosaurus babies. However, the Allosaur breaks out of the sanctuary and goes on a tear through a small nearby town. The military comes and kills the creature, Grant telling Will to leave immediately as he has jeopardized the lives of the remaining dinosaurs and the safety of their sanctuary. William leaves and heads into town. However, later getting word that the military is going to launch a dawn raid on the sanctuary, heading back as soon as he can in order to help Maggie, Dr. Sattler and Dr. Grant, as we get a finale of the army storming in with tanks. However, their operation goes wrong as many of the men start getting killed as the T-Rex goes on a tear, and one of his friends from earlier escapes the T-Rex and flees, killing a few dinosaurs, going after Will, believing him to be a traitor. Eventually he makes his way to the enclosure, which has the apatosaur William wounded. Will finding him and the two have a fight, which Will wins while Grant and Sattler lure the other dinosaurs away from the military. Eventually more of the army come and Will is told to stand down in order to let the military carry out their duties. However, he defies orders and stops the military from proceeding. The Lieutenant General seeing the change that Will has seen, telling them to leave the animals in the sanctuary. And after a hearing, all of the dinosaurs found will be relocated to a sanctuary which will be privately run by Grant, Sattler, Maggie and Will. Will and Maggie falling in love at the end to put a nice little cherry on top of everything. She asks if he'll stay and he says yes, as we pan through the park, seeing the animals finally peacefully living. as we see the entrance to the sanctuary with a large label on it. Jurassic Park, a peaceful place for these animals to live, as it should be. But that's my story for Jurassic Park 3. This was one of the hardest stories to cobble together, and it shows how broken the franchise is, that I basically had to wipe an entire film from canon and scrap the characters from the first 2 Jurassic World films. But I think this is a story that gives majesty and wonder back to the animals, focusing on the characters as well as their journey, kind of being a metaphor for bringing the franchise back to a place of wonder rather than horror, trying to give the audience something that isn't 120 minutes of running from dinosaurs. Jurassic World had a chance to do this, but squandered it with the terrible human plots it had. But here it is a simple story with a likable main character, and bringing some magic back to the animals, as well as some big action scenes with the hunt and the final battle. But that's my story. What did you guys think? And what would you guys like to see out of the Jurassic World franchise moving forward? Because I just don't see it getting any better with the current direction they are taking with the franchise. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to The Young Cynics. And also, I've finished my story for Chapter 2 of my Star Wars fanfic, so that will be coming out in July, so subscribe to be updated for that, and until next time, bye!